mermaid promised him riches, but asked for his firstborn in return. In a small African village, a desperate man made a dangerous deal with a mysterious mermaid from the depths of the ocean. She promised him unimaginable wealth, but the price would haunt him forever. What happens when greed blinds a man to the terrible cost of his wishes? This is a tale of temptation, betrayal, and a choice that no one should ever have to make. Stay with me as we dive deep into a story of magic and darkness beneath the waves. A man's desperation by the African shore. In a small, sun-baked village along the African coast lived a man named Kofi. His days were filled with hard work, but no matter how much he toiled, poverty clung to him like a shadow. His family struggled to find enough food, and hope seemed to slip further away with each passing day. One evening, while sitting alone by the shore, Kofi heard a haunting melody drifting over the waves. The song was unlike anything he had ever heard. Both beautiful and sorrowful, it tugged at his heart. Drawn by the sound, he followed it to the edge of the water. There, beneath the shimmering moonlight, appeared a figure half woman, half fish. A mermaid, her skin glowing with the colors of the ocean. She spoke softly, offering Kofi a promise. Wealth beyond his wildest dreams, riches that would lift his family out of poverty forever. But there was a price, a secret pact that Kofi would have to accept without knowing its full cost. Desperation clouded his judgment. With a trembling hand, he reached out and sealed his fate. Days passed, but the haunting melody never left Kofi's mind. Each night, as the village slept, the song returned, echoing across the African coast like a spell. Kofi found himself drawn again and again to the water's edge, hoping to see the mermaid once more. One night, under a sky full of stars, the mermaid appeared again. Her eyes sparkled with a strange mix of sadness and hope. She told Kofi stories of the deep ocean, of treasures hidden beneath the waves, and secrets only she could reveal. Her voice was like the ocean itself, calm yet powerful, soothing yet commanding. Kofi listened, captivated by every word, feeling an unexplainable connection growing between them. But beneath the enchantment, a shadow lingered, a warning hidden in her song. The mermaid's promise was not free. It came with a debt that could not be ignored. Yet Kofi's heart was full of longing and dreams of a better life. The song wrapped around him like a net, pulling him deeper into a world he didn't fully understand. The night air was thick with tension as Kofi stood at the water's edge, the moon casting silver light over the restless waves. The mermaid's eyes met his, shimmering with a strange mix of sorrow and promise. She spoke clearly, her voice like the whisper of the sea breeze. "I can give you all the riches you desire," she said, "but you must give me something in return, a sacrifice only you can make." Kofi's heart pounded. He hesitated, the weight of her words sinking in, but the suffering of his family and the crushing grip of poverty left little room for doubt. Desperation clouded his mind, and with trembling hands he accepted the pact. A glowing mark appeared on his palm, a sign of the bond now tied between them. The mermaid's smile was both enchanting and eerie, hinting at the dark consequences yet to come. As she vanished beneath the waves, Kofi was left alone with his new destiny, a future filled with wealth, but shadowed by a debt he could neither see nor escape. After sealing the pact with the mysterious mermaid, Kofi's life changed overnight. His once empty hands soon held treasures beyond his wildest dreams. Precious gold coins, rare jewels, and bountiful harvests appeared as if by magic. The small African village, once struggling with hunger and despair, began to thrive. Neighbors whispered in awe, amazed at Kofi's sudden fortune. Kofi shared his newfound wealth generously, lifting his family and friends from poverty. The village celebrated with songs and dances, thankful for the blessings that seemed to have come from the sea itself. Yet, beneath the joy, a quiet unease settled in Kofi's heart. The mark on his palm tingled, reminding him of the price he had agreed to pay. The mermaid's haunting song echoed faintly in his dreams, a constant reminder of the pact. Despite the riches, Kofi felt a growing weight of uncertainty. What was the cost of this sudden fortune? Would the mermaid return to collect what was owed? For now, the village flourished, but the calm surface hid deeper, darker tides yet to come. As the village basked in newfound wealth, strange rumors began to spread like wildfire. Whispers of a curse followed Kofi's fortune, murmured by the elders and carried on the ocean breeze. Some claimed the mermaid's gift was a trap, a dangerous bargain that could bring doom instead of blessings. Kofi tried to ignore the growing fear around him, but unsettling signs soon appeared. Fish disappeared from the waters where they once swam in abundance. Crops withered unexpectedly, and villagers began falling ill with mysterious sicknesses. The joyous celebrations turned into worried gatherings as the shadows of doubt darkened the village. At night, Kofi heard the mermaid's song again, haunting, sad, and filled with warning. The villagers' whispers grew louder, and his heart sank with guilt and fear. Had he doomed them all by accepting the mermaid's gift? The ocean, once a source of life and hope, now seemed to hold secrets darker than the deepest depths. Kofi knew he had to uncover the truth behind the curse, or risk losing everything he had fought so hard to gain. Days turned into weeks, and the village's prosperity began to fade like the retreating tide. The joyous laughter was replaced by anxious whispers, and hopeful eyes grew wary. Kofi felt the weight of the pact pressing heavier on his soul with each passing day. The once bountiful river ran murky and thin, no longer nourishing the crops or filling the fishermen's nets. Families faced hunger once again, and fear gripped their hearts. The mermaid's curse was no longer just a rumor. It was a dark reality. Kofi's nights became restless, haunted by visions of the mermaid's sorrowful eyes and the glowing mark on his palm. He wondered if there was a way to break the curse, or if the village was doomed to suffer forever. In the heart of the African village, hope flickered like a dying ember. But Kofi refused to give up. Determined, he began searching for answers, knowing that his choices now held the fate of everyone he loved. The adventure had only just begun, and the true test of courage was yet to come. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a stranger arrived at the village. Draped in worn, colorful robes and speaking with a deep, calm voice, he carried an air of ancient knowledge. The villagers gathered around, curious but wary. This stranger claimed to know the truth about the mermaid's curse and had come to warn them. He spoke of the ocean's anger and the balance that had been broken when the mermaid was trapped in the sacred pillar. His words sent chills through the crowd, stirring fear and doubt. Some villagers believed him, sensing the weight of his warning, while others dismissed him as a troublemaker. Kofi listened carefully, his heart pounding. The stranger told stories of other African villages that had suffered similar fates after crossing the sea's mysterious beings. He urged the village to release the mermaid and restore peace before it was too late. Despite the warning, many were reluctant to give up their newfound wealth. The village stood at a crossroads, torn between fear and greed, hope and despair. The future depended on their choice. The stranger's warning spread quickly, dividing the village like a storm tearing through calm waters. Some villagers, especially the elders, heeded his words with trembling hearts. They pleaded for Kofi and the others to free the mermaid from the sacred pillar, believing this was the only way to lift the curse. But many others clung to the prosperity the mermaid's capture had brought. They feared losing the wealth, the good harvests, and the fish that still sometimes appeared in the nets. Greed and hope tangled together, blinding them to the growing danger. Kofi felt caught in the middle, torn between the desire to protect his people and the fear of what might happen if the curse was real. Arguments grew louder, friendships strained, and shadows of doubt darkened once bright days. In the heart of the African village, the struggle wasn't just with the curse, it was a battle for the soul of the community itself. Could they come together before it was too late? Or would fear and division push them deeper into darkness? Despite the stranger's warnings and the growing unrest, many villagers chose to ignore the dark signs around them. The river's waters continued to shrink, and strange noises echoed from the forest at night. Crops withered under the relentless sun, and the once bright skies seemed to dull with every passing day. Kofi watched helplessly as more villagers dismissed these as mere bad luck or natural cycles. They clung to their disbelief, hoping the curse was just a story to scare children. But the air grew heavier with unease, and the land itself seemed to mourn. One evening, a fierce storm struck the village. Lightning cracked the sky, and the winds howled like lost spirits. Trees were uprooted, homes damaged, and the villagers huddled together in fear. Even then, some refused to listen, blaming fate or the gods' will rather than their own choices. Kofi knew time was running out. The warning had been clear, but pride and denial had sealed their fate. Now, the question was whether the village could find the courage to face the consequences before it was too late, or if their stubbornness would lead them to ruin. The village had always relied on the land and sea for their survival. But this season, everything changed. The fields that once burst with golden crops now lay barren, cracked by the relentless sun. The fishermen returned with empty nets. The ocean's bounty mysteriously vanished. Whispers spread among the villagers. Was this the price for capturing the mermaid? The sacred pillar where she was trapped seemed to mock them silently, a cold reminder of their greed. Even the children sensed the shift, their laughter fading as worry settled over the village like a heavy fog. Kofi stood among the dry fields watching the withered plants. He knew this was no ordinary drought. The land itself was punishing them, a consequence of their actions against the mystical being who had once blessed these shores. As desperation grew, the villagers began to argue, blaming each other for their misfortune. The community's unity was unraveling, torn apart by fear and frustration. Somewhere deep inside, Kofi felt a spark of hope, a chance to undo the wrongs and heal the village if only they would listen. The river, once the lifeline of the village, began to change. Its clear waters turned murky, thick with a strange, dark slime that frightened even the bravest fishermen. Tales spread quickly. Whispers that the water was cursed, a punishment from the trapped mermaid herself. At night, villagers claimed to hear eerie songs carried on the wind, melodies filled with sorrow and warning. Some said the mermaid's spirit was trapped, crying out for freedom, while others believed the curse was growing stronger, ready to consume them all. The village elders held urgent meetings, debating what to do. Many feared the curse was real, but no one dared approach the sacred pillar where the mermaid was imprisoned. It stood like a silent sentinel on the shore, its presence a constant reminder of their defiance. Kofi felt the weight of the villagers' fears pressing down on him. The once lively community was now shadowed by superstition and dread. The question was no longer if the curse existed, but how far it would go, and if there was any hope left to save them from the darkness spreading through their waters. Tensions in the village reached a boiling point. The once peaceful community was now divided by fear and suspicion. Families argued, friendships crumbled, and the blame for their misfortunes was thrown like stones in the wind. One night, under the flickering light of a dying fire, a group of villagers gathered by the sacred pillar. Their faces were hardened by desperation. Some called to release the mermaid, believing only freedom could end the curse. Others insisted the pillar must remain, fearing what would happen if they freed a powerful spirit they didn't understand. Kofi stood silently among them, torn between hope and fear. He remembered the stranger's warning and the mermaid's haunting songs. The village's fate balanced on a knife's edge. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed through the night as the pillar trembled. A deep rumble shook the earth beneath their feet. The villagers froze in terror, realizing that whatever force held, the curse was awakening, and soon it would demand its price. In that moment, the village faced its greatest challenge: to come together and find a way to undo the damage, or be destroyed by the very curse they had unleashed. The village was on the edge of collapse. Crops had withered, The river was poisoned, and fear had taken root deep in every heart. Children no longer played by the shore, and fishermen dared not cast their nets into the cursed water. The once lively village was silent, weighed down by a dark shadow no one could lift. Kofi stood before the sacred pillar, the source of the curse. His mind raced with memories of the mermaid's haunting song and the warnings from the elders. The village's future depended on a choice heavier than any he had ever faced. Some urged to break the pillar and free the mermaid, hoping her release would end the curse. Others warned it would bring greater destruction, releasing a power none could control. The tension was unbearable, and the night grew colder with every passing moment. Kofi's heart pounded. Could he trust the legend of the cursed spirit, or was there a deeper truth hidden beneath the waves? The time had come to decide, save the village or doom it forever. Kofi sat alone by the fire, the crackling flames mirroring the turmoil in his soul. Memories of the mermaid's song echoed softly in his mind, stirring feelings he couldn't ignore. She was more than a spirit trapped in stone. She was a living soul, full of longing and sorrow. The village's elders spoke of duty and tradition, but Kofi's heart told him there was another way. He remembered how the mermaid's eyes held hope, even as she was confined. What if freeing her wasn't just about ending a curse, but about healing a wound that had festered for generations? His thoughts drifted to the family's suffering, to the children scared of the sea. Could compassion break the cycle of fear and anger? Kofi realized the choice was not just about survival, it was about understanding, forgiveness, and trust. With a deep breath, he rose, determination shining in his eyes. The village needed more than rules, it needed courage. And maybe, just maybe, the heart's true desire was the key to breaking the curse forever. The dawn broke over the village, casting a soft light on the sacred pillar. Kofi stood before it, hands trembling but resolve unshaken. Around him, villagers gathered silently, their eyes filled with fear and hope. With a final glance toward the horizon, Kofi placed his hands on the cold stone. He whispered a prayer asking for mercy and peace, for the mermaid, for the village, and for the future. Slowly the pillar began to crack. Light spilled from within, bright and warm like the sun's first rays. The villagers gasped as the stone shattered, revealing the mermaid inside, her eyes shining with gratitude and sorrow. She stepped forward, free at last. The curse lifted like a dark cloud, and the air grew fresh and sweet. The river sparkled once more, and the earth breathed life. But Kofi knew this was only the beginning. The mermaid's freedom came with a choice. For the village to heal, they must welcome the unknown and embrace change. As the waves whispered her song, Kofi smiled, ready to face whatever came next. Freedom had been won, but the journey was far from over.